After their mother died, my lawyer called me insane. My son begged me to reconsider, but I signed every paper they put in front of me without reading a single word. They smiled at each other across the conference table, thinking they'd won. Then Margaret's lawyer cleared his throat and said there was one more document to review. The color drained from their faces when he read the first sentence. But before we continue, where are you watching this from? Drop your city in the comments. I read every single one. My name is Thomas Whitmore, and I'm 67 years old. For the past 4 years, I lived what I thought was a second chance at happiness with my wife Margaret in our home just outside Calgary. She died 3 weeks ago, heart attack. Suddenly, no warning. One moment she was laughing at something on the television, the next she was gone. The paramedics said she likely didn't feel any pain. I'm not sure if that makes it better or worse. Margaret had 2 daughters from her first marriage, Sophia and Isabella. I tried. God knows, I tried with them. They were adults, late 20s, when their mother and I got together. I never tried to replace their father. I just wanted to be a friend, a supporter, a part of their mother's new chapter. But to them, I was always the outsider. The man who moved into their father's house. The man spending what they considered their inheritance. The house, it was never mine. I knew that. It was the family home Margaret shared with her first husband. He built it with his own hands. When we married, I moved in. It was practical. It was full of her memories. My own place, a smaller condo downtown, I rented out. We were happy. We talked about maybe buying something new together, a fresh start. But we never got around to it. And then, she was gone. The funeral was a quiet, grim affair. Sophia and Isabella were polite but distant. They accepted condolences, thanked people for coming, and barely looked at me. I was drowning in a grief so heavy I could barely stand. They were planning. I just didn't know it yet. A week after we buried Margaret, they came to the house, not to check on me, not to share memories of their mother. They came with a proposal. Let me rewind. Let me tell you about Margaret. To understand the ending, you have to know the beginning. My first wife, Eleanor, passed away from cancer nearly a decade ago. It broke me. It broke my son, David. We were a team, the two of us, just trying to get through each day. I retired from my engineering firm, sold the big family home, too many echoes, and moved into a condo. I was adrift. David, bless him, was starting his own life out east. He worried about me being alone. I met Margaret at a community gardening club. I was killing a rosemary bush. She was saving it. That was her. A fixer. She had this light, this unwavering kindness that came from having survived her own darkness. Her first husband had been a good man, she said. But his passing years ago had left a void her daughters couldn't fill. We were 2 halves of broken holes, and somehow, together, we felt almost whole again. Our courtship was slow, sweet. David liked her immediately. He saw life coming back into my eyes. Her daughters. Sophia, the eldest, was a corporate lawyer in Vancouver. Sharp, analytical, eyes that missed nothing. Isabella, the younger, was an influencer of some sort, always curating her life for an audience. They were civil. Chilly, but civil. They'd visit, make strained conversation, and leave as soon as socially acceptable. When I proposed, Margaret cried with joy. When we told the girls, Sophia simply said, "Mother, have you considered a prenuptial agreement?" That was the first real crack. Margaret was furious. She told them her happiness was not a business transaction, that I was the best thing to happen to her in years. She stood up for me, for us. It created a rift that never truly healed. We married in a small ceremony. David was my best man. Sophia and Isabella attended, smiles not reaching their eyes. I moved into the house. I poured my love into making Margaret happy. I cooked. I tended the garden she loved. I listened to her stories. I helped her with the finances when she asked, because her late husband had handled everything and it overwhelmed her. I found old bills, disorganized accounts. I helped her set up a simple system. She was so grateful. One afternoon, about a year into our marriage, she was going through boxes in the study. She found a folder of old documents. Her late husband's will, the original deed to the house, life insurance policies long since paid out. She sat on the floor, tears in her eyes. "He was so meticulous," she whispered. "He wanted to make sure we were always taken care of." I sat with her, arm around her shoulders. "He was a good man." She looked at me, her eyes searching mine. "Thomas, I need to do the same. I need to make sure you are taken care of. No matter what, this house, it's complicated. The girls see it as their birthright. But you are my husband. You are my present and my future. I won't have you left out in the cold." I told her not to worry. I told her the house was theirs. I understood. But Margaret had a determined set to her jaw. "We're going to see my lawyer next week," she said. "We're getting everything in order for peace of mind." That meeting, it was mundane. Wills, powers of attorney, beneficiary updates. I insisted she leave the house to her daughters. It was only fair. She insisted on leaving me her investment portfolio, which was modest, and a few pieces of heirloom jewelry that had come from her mother, not her first husband. We compromised. It felt morbid planning for death when we were so alive, but she was adamant. "Peace of mind, Thomas," she kept saying. I signed whatever she put in front of me. I trusted her completely. After the meeting, we went for ice cream like teenagers. She held my hand and said, "Now, no matter what silly ideas those girls get, you're protected, and I'm protected knowing you'll be okay." If I had only known what those silly ideas would become. The clock started ticking the moment Margaret's heart stopped. The first few days were a blur of numbness. David flew in. He handled the logistics I couldn't face. Sophia and Isabella arrived, their grief seeming genuine, edged with a new, watchful tension. They stayed in their old rooms. The house felt different, colder. The day after the funeral, David had to return to work. He hugged me tight. "Call me if you need anything, Dad. Anything at all. Don't let them. Just call me." He shot a wary look towards the kitchen where the sisters were talking in low tones. I didn't understand his concern. Not then. The next evening, they asked to speak with me in the living room. Sophia took the lead, her lawyerly demeanor fully engaged. "Thomas," she began, her voice smooth as polished glass. "We need to discuss the house." "Of course," I said, my voice rough. "I know you'll want to sort everything. There's no rush. I can stay in the guest room for a while until things are settled." Isabella gave a thin smile. "That's just it. We think it's best for everyone if you leave as soon as possible." I blinked. "Leave?" "Yes," Sophia continued. "This house is a part of our father's legacy. It's filled with memories of our family, of him, of Mom with him. Having you here, it's confusing. It's painful. We need to begin the process of healing, and we can't do that with a reminder in the house." The word reminder hung in the air like a slap. I was a relic, an inconvenience, a stain on their perfect memory. But my things, Margaret's things, We need to go through them together, I stammered. We've already started, Isabella said brightly, as if sharing good news. We've boxed up all of your clothes and personal items from the master bedroom. They're in the garage. Mom's jewelry and personal effects, we'll handle it. They're sentimental to us. They'd been in my room, going through my drawers, while I was lost in grief. Sophia placed a document on the coffee table. This is a simple agreement. It states that you voluntarily vacate the premises within 72 hours and waive any tenancy or residency claims. In return, we are willing to let you take your personal belongings, and we will not pursue any claim on the minor assets Mom left you. My heart was pounding. Margaret's will. We need to wait for the lawyer. Mother's will is straightforward, Sophia said, a flicker of something hard in her eyes. The house goes to us, jointly. There's no provision for you to live here. You are technically a guest. We are revoking that invitation. Sign this, and we can all move on with minimal drama. I felt the walls closing in. This was my home, where Margaret's scent still lingered on her pillow, where we drank coffee every morning watching the birds at the feeder. They were erasing me. I need to think. I need to talk to my son, my lawyer. Sophia's patience snapped. Your lawyer? What do you need a lawyer for, Thomas? To fight for a house that isn't yours? To drag our mother's memory through an ugly legal battle? Do you think that's what she would have wanted? Sign the paper. Leave with some dignity. The guilt trip was masterful. They framed their cruelty as a necessity for their grief, and my resistance as a disrespect to Margaret. I was too tired, too sad, too broken to fight. I took the paper. I'll have it reviewed. 3 days later, I was in my own lawyer's office. He read the document, his frown deepening. Thomas, this is extraordinarily aggressive. It not only forces you out, but has broad language that could be interpreted as waiving other potential claims. If you sign this, you're walking away from everything. You can't. My son David was on speakerphone. Dad, please, don't sign a thing. Let's fight this. They can't just throw you out. But all I could hear was Sophia's voice. Do you think that's what she would have wanted? I saw the coldness in their eyes. I saw the long, bitter fight ahead. Lawyers' letters, court dates, this beautiful house turned into a war zone. Margaret's memory is smothered by conflict. I was so tired. Draw up the simplest agreement, I told my lawyer, a terrible calm settling over me. One that just says I agree to leave. No waivers of anything else. Just me leaving the house. If they want that so badly, they can have it. My lawyer argued, David begged. But I had made up my mind. I would not fight for bricks and mortar. I would not become the villain in Margaret's memory. If this was what her children wanted, I would go. I had lost Margaret. What was a house compared to that? A meeting was set. Sophia and Isabella's lawyer, a smug man in an expensive suit, was there. My lawyer, looking disgusted, was there. Sophia and Isabella sat, poised, victorious. Their lawyer slid the finalized vacation agreement to me. It was 1 page. I didn't read it. What was the point? I took the pen. My lawyer put his head in his hands. I signed my name. I looked up. Sophia and Isabella exchanged a glance. A small, triumphant smile touched Sophia's lips. Isabella gave a slight, satisfied nod. It was done. They had won. They had removed the intruder. Then Margaret's lawyer, an older gentleman named Mr. Davies, who had handled her affairs for 30 years, cleared his throat. Now that is concluded, he said, his voice mild. There is the matter of Margaret's primary will and testament to execute. There is one specific conditional clause that must be addressed before any asset distribution can occur. Sophia waved a hand. Of course, the house passes to us, the investment account, and jewelry to Thomas. We're aware. Mr. Davies didn't smile. He opened a large, formal document. I shall read the relevant clause. It is titled, Condition of Inheritance for my daughters, Sophia and Isabella. He adjusted his glasses. The room went still. He read the first sentence. In the event of my passing, my beloved husband Thomas Whitmore shall have the absolute and unconditional right to reside in our family home at address for the remainder of his natural life, should he so choose. The air was sucked from the room. This right is granted above all other claims. Should my daughters, or any other party, attempt to compel him to leave, or make his residence there untenable through legal action or coercion, then, and only then, the following condition is triggered. They shall be deemed to have voluntarily forfeited their entire inheritance from my estate, including but not limited to the house and all its contents. Mr. Davies looked up. Sophia's face was chalk white. Isabella's mouth hung open. In such a case, the entirety of my estate, in perpetuity, shall pass immediately and irrevocably to my husband, Thomas Whitmore, to dispose of as he sees fit. Silence. A deafening, roaring silence. I stared. My lawyer's head shot up, his eyes wide. The sister's lawyer slowly closed his folder. Mr. Davies continued, his voice the only sound in the frozen world. By presenting Mr. Whitmore with a legal document demanding he vacate the premises within 72 hours, you have clearly met the clause's definition of coercion and an attempt to compel him to leave. Therefore, as of this moment, pursuant to Margaret's legally binding will, you have forfeited all inheritance. The house, its contents, the remaining investment portfolios, everything, now belongs solely to Thomas Whitmore. Sophia made a sound like a choked gasp. That can't be. She wouldn't. She did, Mr. Davies said simply. She was very clear. She wanted Thomas to always have a home. She also wanted her daughters to show him the basic decency of family. If you could not do that, you would get nothing. She foresaw this exact scenario, I'm afraid. Isabella found her voice shrill and breaking. He tricked her. He manipulated a grieving woman. Mr. Davies' eyes turned to ice. I drafted this clause at your mother's specific, repeated, and emphatic instruction after your insistence on a prenuptial agreement 4 years ago. She said, and I quote, I need a prenuptial agreement to protect my husband from my children. She was not grieving. She was prescient. I looked at the faces across the table. The triumph was gone, replaced by pure, undiluted horror. The victory they had savored moments ago had vaporized, leaving only ash and a catastrophic loss. My lawyer was the first to move. He reached over and gently pried the signed vacation agreement from in front of me. He tore it neatly in half. This meeting, he said, is adjourned. I wish I could say I felt a surge of vindictive joy. I didn't. I felt a deep, profound sadness. Margaret had known. She had known her own daughters' hearts better than I did. She had loved them, but she had not trusted them. And she had loved me enough to armor me against their coldness. In the stunned quiet of my lawyer's office after they'd left, Sophia nearly stumbling, Isabella in silent tears, Mr. Davies handed me a sealed envelope. She asked me to give this to you if this clause was ever triggered. With trembling hands, I opened it. It was her handwriting. My dearest Thomas, if you are reading this, then my worst fear has come true. My girls have shown their hands. I am so sorry. I am sorry for their cruelty, and I am sorry that I had to lay this trap for my own children. But I could not leave you vulnerable. The house is yours. Everything is yours. Do with it what you need to do to find your peace. I loved you. Completely. Don't live in a museum of memories. Make new ones. Be happy. All my love, always, Margaret. I cried then, for her wisdom, for her love, for the tragic necessity of her plan. My lawyer was pragmatic. Thomas, you are now the sole owner of a significant asset. You have options. You can sell it. You can live in it. You can burn it to the ground. Legally, it's yours. I went back to the house. My house. Their boxes were still in the garage. I had the locks changed that afternoon. The phone calls started almost immediately. Begging, pleading, screaming, accusations. They claimed I had manipulated a sick woman. They threatened to contest the will. Mr. Davies assured me the will was ironclad. Margaret's one sentence was part of a meticulously crafted legal document, witnessed independently with a video recording of her stating her clear and sound mind. Their threats turned to negotiations. Just let us buy the house at market value. Give us our father's heirlooms, at least. My answer, guided by my lawyer, was consistent. All discussions must go through my legal counsel. But I wasn't interested in negotiation. They hadn't wanted to negotiate when they gave me 72 hours. They'd wanted to surrender. My revenge wasn't about cruelty. It was about consequence. It was about showing them the mirror of their own actions. So I formulated a plan. First, I went through the house. I carefully boxed up every single photograph, every memento, every item that belonged to their father or their childhood. I didn't want them. They were not my memories. I had them delivered to Sophia's law office. Not a gift, a return, a serving. Then I called a real estate agent. I was not going to live in this museum of sadness and betrayal. I put the house on the market. The market was hot. Offers poured in. But I didn't sell to the highest bidder. I found a young couple, not much older than David. They were teachers. They were expecting their first child. They had been outbid on a dozen houses. They loved this house, not for its dark history, but for the garden, the light in the kitchen, the tree in the backyard, perfect for a swing. Their eyes shone with the hope of a future, not the greed of an inheritance. I accepted their offer. It was fair, not the highest, but fair. Before the sale finalized, I had one more thing to do. Margaret's investment portfolio, now solely mine, had grown modestly. Along with the proceeds from the house, I was financially secure for the rest of my life. I didn't need it all. I established a trust, the Margaret's Garden Trust. Its purpose was to provide annual grants to local community gardening clubs, to fund horticultural therapy programs for seniors grieving a loss, and to maintain the public park where Margaret and I first met. The principle would last in perpetuity. Her name would live on, not in a house of conflict, but in a legacy of growth and healing. The final act was the letter. I wrote one letter to Sophia and Isabella. I do not hate you. I pity you. You were so focused on claiming a piece of the past that you destroyed your future. Your mother's love was not a finite resource to be hoarded. There was enough for all of us. You chose to see me as a thief. And in doing so, you made it a reality. The house is sold. The proceeds, after establishing a charitable trust in your mother's name, will secure my life. You have received the boxes of your father's things. You have nothing else coming from me or from your mother's estate. This is the direct and unavoidable consequence of the document you presented to me. You authored this ending the day you asked me to leave. I merely signed it. Do not contact me again. I sent it via Mr. Davies. There was no return address. The closing on the house was a dry, administrative affair. I signed the papers. The young teachers beamed. Their excitement was balm. A week later, I was packing. The last of my and Margaret's shared belongings, our books, our music, the ugly vase we bought on a trip because it made us laugh, into a moving van. My new place was a cozy, modern condo overlooking a different part of the city. It had no history. It was a blank page. As I was loading the final box, a car pulled up. It was Sophia, alone. She looked older, drained of her sharp, polished energy. She approached me cautiously, as one would a dangerous animal. Thomas. Sophia, can we talk? The lawyers have done all the talking that's needed. She swallowed, looking at the ground. I'm not here to fight. I'm here to understand. She took a shuddering breath. Did she really hate us that much? The question shocked me, not with its audacity, but with its profound misreading of everything. She didn't hate you at all, I said, my voice quiet but firm. She loved you. That clause wasn't born of hate. It was born of desperate hope. I hope that you will prove her wrong. Hope that you would see me as her husband and not an obstacle. She built a trap door, not to see you fall, but to give you every reason not to jump. You looked at that open door and you leapt. Tears filled her eyes. But they weren't the dramatic tears of before. They looked real. We thought we were protecting her memory, protecting what was ours. From what? From a man who loved her, who made her laugh. I felt a surge of frustration. You were protecting an idea, a memory of a family that didn't exist anymore. You were so busy guarding the ghost of your father, you couldn't see the living heart of your mother. She had no answer. The truth, finally, was too heavy to deflect. The trust, she whispered. The gardening trust. We heard about it. It's what she would have wanted. Life, growth, not a shrine. Sophia nodded slowly, a broken, defeated gesture. I am sorry, Thomas. For what it's worth, from the bottom of whatever is left of my heart, I am sorry. We were wrong. I looked at her, this woman who had caused me so much pain. I saw not a villain, but a flawed, grieving daughter who had chosen the wrong path. The anger I'd been clinging to loosened its grip. I believe you, I said. But sorry doesn't rebuild what was broken. It just acknowledges the wreckage. Go live your life, Sophia. Build something of your own. Don't spend it trying to claim what belonged to someone else. She got back in her car and drove away. I never saw her or Isabella again. I moved into my new condo. David helped me set it up. We placed Margaret's photo on the mantel, smiling. I joined a new gardening club. I told them my story, in time. I made new friends. The revenge was complete. It wasn't fiery or dramatic. It was quiet, legal, and absolute. They had sought to make me homeless and penniless. In the end, the reverse happened, by their own hand. The ultimate justice was that their mother's love for me was the instrument of their downfall. They weren't destroyed by a monster. They were outmaneuvered by a mother's profound understanding of her children's faults. So, why am I telling you this story? Not for sympathy, and certainly not to glorify revenge. I'm telling you this because of the awesome, terrifying power of a single sentence. One line in a document, born of love and foresight, changed everything. We go through life thinking actions are just actions. A harsh word, a greedy demand, a moment of cruelty. We think we can get away with it. We think the only consequences are hurt feelings, a temporary rift. But sometimes, someone who loves us sees the pattern. They see the flaw in our character. And they love us enough not to enable it, but to build a consequence around it. A net to catch us when we fall from grace. Margaret's sentence was that net. Her daughters fell right into it. The lesson is this: how you treat people matters, especially when you think they are powerless. Especially when you think you hold all the cards. Karma is not some mystical force. It's often the direct, logical, and sometimes legally binding result of your own choices, set in motion by those who know you best. Greed blinds, arrogance deafens, and in their clouded state, you can walk right past a warning written in love, straight into a prison of your own making. I live a quiet life now. I miss her every day. But I am at peace. The house is gone, but her legacy grows, literally, in gardens across the city. Sophia and Isabella? I don't know. I hope they found a lesson in the ashes. I hope they learned that love is not a territory to be defended, but a gift to be shared. And I hope you remember, the next time you're tempted to push someone out, to discard someone you see as lesser, to claim what you think is yours by right, look carefully. There might be a sentence waiting, and its first word could change everything. My name is Thomas Whitmore. This was my story. Thank you for listening.